Hi everyone, welcome to Redesigning School Counseling. This is the introduction webinar for the 2017 first year cohort of RSC schools. It's the first of 5 webinars and we're just really happy to be working with y'all. I think we have 109 schools that are starting RSC today, so we're just really pleased. We do have a full agenda, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And here is our agenda. There's 4 parts of our discussion today, and we're going to try very hard to end on time right at 4:30. So the first part is we'll do a quick introduction of RSC and then an overview of the work that you'll be doing this month to set up your organizational structure. We'll look at the design process, the online system, and then talk about some additional benefits of RSC. We'll talk specifically then about this month's tasks, the things in the process that you need to accomplish in the next 4 weeks. And then we'll go into the online system and just do a quick walkthrough. So basically today is just about getting started, getting the organizational structure set, collecting some of your data, and just kind of getting everything ready to go. So real quick intro. First of all, we are making some assumptions, and we are assuming, first of all, that you care very much about your students' well-beings. We believe that school counselors become school counselors because they really care about kids. And so we're coming into this thinking that you care about your students. We also believe that you want all of your students to be able to work productively in high skill and high wage jobs, and because you care about your kids, you're wanting them to succeed at school so that they can enjoy the standard of living that they want to enjoy and be in the future engaged in an occupation that is of interest to them. Third assumption is that we're assuming that you already understand that RSC is scientifically proven, and we've been proven to be a process that raises student achievement. So we know that you had a lot of different technical assistance providers that were eager to help you design a comprehensive and innovative school counseling program. We're really pleased that you chose RSC, and we suspect that part of the reason that you chose RSC because we are a scientifically proven process for raising student achievement. So we're pleased about that. And then the fourth assumption is we're assuming that you are considering, or that your district is considering applying for the Lilly Implementation Grant. So all through this, we're going to be talking about doing work that will set you up and put you in really good position for your district to write an implementation grant that will be funded so that after your program is planned, you can get money to actually implement it, to do the professional development you need, or to get the materials that you need, or to have the discussions that you need to have, or whatever. So we know that some of you haven't really made that decision yet. You're kind of still thinking about it. But we've only talked with one school that has already decided positively that they're not going to apply for the Lilly Implementation Grant. So we're going to assume that y'all are, and we'll just kind of work in that direction. Then we're also assuming that each of us, our organization and your school, are going to deliver the assurances that you made in your application and that we made to you as part of the application process. So we've promised to you that we're going to provide a program design model, a timeline, webinars, an online program management system, communication tools, and technical support. So we'll come true on that. We will provide those things. We always meet our deliverables. We feel very strongly about that. On the right-hand side of that table, you've made us some promises too, and we're going to assume that you're going to come true on those promises. So you've promised us that you're going to convene a steering team and a school counseling council, that your steering team will attend 5 webinars, that you're going to collect some data, that you're going to facilitate 3 discussions with your council, and each of those discussions will be a 2-hour talk. Number 5, you have promised us that you're going to enter information into the online system and review the feedback that we provide. 6, you've promised us that you're going to ask questions when you're confused, and I can almost assure you that we're going to cover a lot of content today, and some of this is going to feel overwhelming, and I know you're going to have questions, and so you've promised us that you'll call us or email us and ask those questions, because that's the only way that we can be available to mentor and coach you. And then also you or your district has agreed to pay us for our services. We won't ask you for payment until after everyone's sure that you actually received the planning grant. We're assuming that everybody will receive that grant because it's a non-competitive grant, but at that point we'll invoice you and you can pay for the services that you're getting. So, okay, so that's our assumptions. We're assuming that each of you has already registered for all 5 webinars, but if not, we need you to do that. Once you've registered for those webinars, the system will give you reminders and kind of encourage you to show up at the webinars. We think the webinars are really important, especially face-to-face, because then you can ask questions and we can get some dialogue going. So we think that's really important. Okay, so now there's a couple of cautions that we want to make. One big one. One caution that we want to make is that if you have any ideas already about what you might like to do with the Lilly implementation grant funding, we're going to encourage you right now to throw those ideas out the window. You don't know right now what you want to do because you haven't studied any data. So while you might have some ideas, we really need to dig into that student data, look at your program self-studies, really assess what's needed and what's going on, and at that point then we can get ideas about what's needed and how we're going to spend that implementation funding if you get it over the next 4 years. So if you have any ideas, we'd like you to just throw them out the window and start with a blank piece of paper. We'll go through this process. We'll look at what this data says, and then we'll make some decisions. You'll make some decisions about what your program needs to look like. Okay, so yeah, let the data help you discover what your students need and what to do about it. We also would like to encourage you to remember that if you are hoping for Lilly implementation funding, your new program will need to be innovative and sustainable. If you've read the RFP for Lilly over and over again, they talk about innovative work that involves the entire community and that is sustainable. So whatever you're designing, we think that it's probably, if you're going to get funded over the next 4 years, it probably means that we're not looking for just an add-on program. So if a school were to say, well, let's just start doing a teacher advisor program, we don't think that would be enough to be innovative in this competitive grant. So, and we also think that it's probably not about adding personnel because in all the discussions that we've had, everyone is talking that adding counselors, while would be wonderful, is not sustainable after the funding period. Over the 20 years that we've been doing this, we've talked with tons of schools that had the best intentions for being able to sustain counseling positions after they were funded with a grant, and I can't even, not one situation comes to mind where that actually happened, and a whole lot of situations come to mind where that didn't happen. So when we're talking about sustainable, we're probably not talking about adding new positions. However, we have some other ideas for getting help for counselors that will be sustainable. So here's what we're thinking, and we just kind of wanted to let you know where we're coming from in terms of setting you up to get the implementation grant. We think that innovative means a brand new way of thinking about school counseling. It's not about just adding on one more program and one more program and one more program. It's foundationally changing the way that school counseling is delivered. And we'll talk about that. So in our vision, we're thinking that in this new kind of out of the box, not traditional at all, method of delivering services, we're going to be introducing to you all through the next 5 months the idea of having a school counseling system rather than a school counseling program. And what that means to us is that in a system is that there's different implementers, there's different delivery models. So one delivery model would be the traditional model where school counselors are meeting with kids one-to-one and doing classroom guidance and doing consultation with parents and teachers and that kind of stuff. But we're also going to introduce delivering a guidance curriculum through a teacher advisor program, through community-based activities that maybe the Kiwanis Club or the Chamber of Commerce would do, integrating guidance activities with academic curriculum, and then also having parents implement guidance activities. So we just wanted to introduce that in the beginning to really help you from the get-go really thinking about being out of the box. Again, we think that there's probably a lot of schools that are going to just do add-on activities or just going to want to use that money to hire another counselor, and we don't think that Lily will find that to be fundable in a competitive grant situation. So we're going to introduce all these different ideas all through the second semester, and you could run with them or you could not run with them. That's your choice. If you want to come out of this with an implementation grant that is adding on another program or that does put in funding for an additional school counselor, that's fine with us. So those things are doable. You never have to do anything that we advise and encourage you to do. So okay, so that said, let's look at another bit that we're going to do in the next 4 years. So let me back up. Let's say that you're interested in teacher advisor program, but you don't know how to set one up, or you're interested in integrating guidance curriculum with academic curriculum and having guidance activities being implemented in your algebra classroom or your 3rd grade social studies curriculum or whatever, but you don't know how to set that up. So in the next 4 years, after this planning phase, we're going to be offering a new initiative called Guiding All Kids. And it's an initiative that will help you design one or more of those 4 delivery models and also coordinate them. So that's coming in the next 4 years. So if you like the things that I've just mentioned, just know that in the implementation phase there will be additional help coming if you want it. Okay? We actually have implemented programming on all of those things outside of Indiana for years. So we're just kind of bringing all this now to home and doing it all under one umbrella of Guiding All Kids. Okay, so just wanted to paint that picture for you to really start helping you think out of the box. Okay, so now let's talk about what you need to know right now to do things this month. First of all, let's look at our terminology. We use 4 terms to talk about school counseling activities. We talk about guidance activities, counseling, advocacy, and management activities. We use these words because we have found over 20 years of doing this that these are words that mean something to non-counselors. Counselors understand words like responsive services and system support, all those words that maybe ASCA uses and Norm Geisber's coined lots and lots of years ago. But when we're talking to a principal or to a Kiwanis Club member or to a math teacher or a 3rd grade teacher, those are not words that mean things to them. These words do. When we use words that they're familiar with, they get it. So even though in some circles guidance is not an acceptable term, in our world and in the world of school counseling at Indiana Department of Education, we use that word guidance because it speaks well to lots of different populations. Then the last type of activity is non-program activity. Those are the activities that have nothing to do with school counseling that many school counselors, myself included when I was a counselor, spent a ton of time doing. And we'll teach you in redesigning school counseling how to get rid of those non-program activities. Okay, so let's define them real quickly. Guidance is the activities that enable all students to learn information and skills. So when we're doing guidance activities, we're teaching. We're teaching kids about career opportunities and career processes. We're teaching about academic opportunities and academic concepts. So we're teaching social emotional or personal social skills. When we're in teaching mode, we're helping students master guidance indicators, or in Indiana, the Indiana competencies for school counseling for students. And then we're also helping kids get the information they need so that they can make good choices. That's guidance. Guidance does not take a master's degree in school counseling to do. There's lots of different folks who could teach kids what a FAFSA is, as long as they didn't know what a FAFSA is. So it doesn't require a master's degree in school counseling to implement guidance activities. The counseling activities, on the other hand, are not for all kids. They're only for some kids, and if your school is normal, about 1 out of 5 students is coming to school with a social emotional issue that's interfering with learning. So counseling activities help some students address personal and or social issues that are interfering with their learning. Counseling activities are not implemented by just anybody who can teach. Counseling activities are implemented by licensed professionals, school counselors, school psychs, school social workers, who have training and education in delivering counseling services, as well as a supervised practice experience. So we feel very strongly that only school counselors and other licensed helping professionals should be doing counseling, where when we're teaching kids, that's something that teacher advisors or peer mentors or peer helpers or community members, they can do the teaching part, counselors do the counseling part. Okay, so that's those two terms. We think another legitimate use of counselor time in a school counseling program is advocating for students. So in RSC, one of the activity types is advocacy. Those are activities that support environmental changes that meets the needs of a student group or all students. Or advocacy might be when we're supporting the needs of an individual student. So as school counselors, we advocate for kids. And that we think is a legitimate use of school counselor time. Another legitimate use is management, program management. These are activities that enable the school counseling program to run smoothly and efficiently. So they're behind-the-scenes activities that you're doing to make your school counseling program operate well. So professional development, evaluation, the things that you're doing to make your program run well. Okay, here are common management activities. So program development, professional development, networking, evaluation. Right now you're doing professional development, so you're involved right now in a program management activity. So, okay. Now, this other kind of activity is not part of the school counseling program, but we're going to name it so we can talk about it. And that is non-program activities. So non-program activities are activities that help students gain knowledge and skills that will, I'm sorry, let me back up. Non-program activities are activities that do not help students gain knowledge and skills that will help them make sound choices, or do not help students address a personal social issue that is interfering with learning. So in other words, if it's not guidance and it's not counseling, and it's not management, it's not advocacy, then it's non-program. Here are very traditional non-program activities that are assigned to school counselors. These have nothing to do with counseling. They have nothing to do with guidance, advocacy, or your program management. Are they good activities to have happen in a school? Absolutely. Somebody needs to do these. But we want everybody to understand that when school counselors are doing these activities, we're taking them away from those guidance and counseling and advocacy activities that could be helping kids. So as part of RSC, part of the process is to look at how do we get these activities reassigned to others in a more equitable manner, so that school counselors can spend their time working with kids and parents. So, okay. Let's look at our foundational beliefs. This is very key to RSC and very unique. We believe, and this is huge, we believe that school counseling programs impact academic achievement, by helping students make sound choices in areas that impact academic success. So we've always known as counselors that we make a difference in academic achievement, and we can see that as we work with kids. But this explains how we make that difference. When we're engaged with kids in a guidance or counseling, we're giving kids what they need to make good choices in areas that impact academic success. So that is the most foundational belief of RSC. Everything that we're doing as school counselors in RSC is designed to enable kids to make good choices. We call this the impact pyramid. It's basically the same thing, that when students are involved in sound guidance and counseling programs, they tend to make better choices in areas that impact achievement, and as a result of that, achievement goes up. Now, this year, as you are designing your school counseling program, we're going to start with academic goals, and we're going to get those academic goals from your school improvement plan. Then we're going to talk with the community and the school personnel about what choices do kids need to make in order for us to reach those academic goals. And then we'll design guidance activities and counseling activities to help kids make those choices. So in a nutshell, that's how we design a school counseling program. And I think you can see why our programs have an impact, a statistically significant impact on academic achievement, is because the whole program is designed to focus on helping kids make good choices in areas that impact achievement. Okay, so now let's look at an overview of RSC. Let me just pause for a moment here. Debbie, do we have any questions so far? Debbie? Debbie, we cannot hear you for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I'm having some audio difficulties with my computer,
Okay.
but I do not see any questions at this point.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll go on. That doesn't surprise me yet. So let's look at what is RSC. So basically, all RSC is a set of tools. It's a set of tools that's going to help you develop a data-driven program plan and then to implement and evaluate the plan. So I'll talk about those tools as we go on. So this tool set is going to provide for you an organizational structure. It's going to provide for you the design process, and then the last tool is the online system that gives you a whole bunch of different tools, and we'll go through each of these today. So let's begin then by looking at that organizational structure. So there's two parts to the organizational structure in RSC. The first part is your steering team. There's another video in the online system that's going to give you some tips for how to set up your steering team. The steering team are the worker bees. They are the managers of school counseling program design and implementation and evaluation. They manage the system. So they're the managers, and here's what they're going to do. You will, as a program manager, you're going to collect data. You're going to recruit school counseling council members. You're going to facilitate 3 meetings with that council. You're going to research best practices in school counseling program and school counseling activities. And then you're going to document all of your work online. So we're going to ask you to have 5 people on your steering team, and then we're going to ask that you delegate tasks among those 5 people according to these 5 different task types. So 5 people in the steering team, delegate tasks. Each person on your steering team takes responsibility for one type of activity as you're managing the process. Okay, so that's one organizational level. Those are the worker bees. Then there's the advisory council. The advisory council is a huge group. It may be 20, 30, 40 people. It represents all the different stakeholders. It represents your school's partners. It represents anybody in your community who has an interest in school counseling, kids, economic development, So really, there's lots of different groups in your community that have an interest in kids receiving good guidance, sound guidance, and kids being having good social emotional health. So we want to bring all those people to the table. These people are not worker bees. They are thinker bees. So they'll have 3 discussions with you. They're going to help you think through things from a lot of different perspectives. And then later, we're hoping that in addition to being thinker bees, the light bulb's going to go off for them and they're going to say, you know, we could help you do that. Our Kiwanis Club could do this. Our Chamber of Commerce could do that. So right now they're thinker bees. Down the road, we hope to transition them into program implementers as we look at different delivery models. So, okay, so that's the council. Their responsibility right now is to provide input and feedback for you, to implement guidance activities down the road, and to become school counseling champions, to become your flag bearers. The members of the council, I mentioned 5 members: teachers, students, parents, community, and 1 member has to be a school counselor. If you don't have any counselors in your building, you could find a counselor in maybe a different building in your district and have them sit on your council. Them sit on your steering team. I was going to caution, don't get these 2 groups mixed up. It's easy to do when you're talking about them. On your steering team, we need 1 person to be a counselor. That can be a counselor from a different building. On your council, teachers, students, parents, community members. Big emphasis on community. In Lily's RFP, over and over and over again, they talk about the importance of bringing the community partners and community stakeholder groups into the discussion. So we also would like your council to mirror the makeup of your community. So if you have Hispanic folks in your community, we'd want to make sure that there are Hispanic folks on your council. And again, there's another video that you'll watch, a really quick video before you start recruiting your council members that will help you kind of look at this. Okay, let's look at the RSC process. This is the process in a nutshell. And basically, I'd really encourage you to not worry about the whole process all at once. Right now, all we have to worry about is January. So in the rest of this webinar, we're going to talk specifically about these January tasks: setting up your steering team, putting together your council, collecting data. Then in February, we'll prep you for this first discussion with your council. In March, we'll prep you for the second discussion with your council, and in April, the third discussion. Then in May, we'll help you talk with your district about your needs for funding so that they can include your needs in their implementation grant to Lily. So, but again, this is the big picture, and really all you need to worry about right now is just January. So, we'll not even talk anymore about the rest of the year and just talk about this month. So does this all seem a little overwhelming right now? Absolutely. This is really common at this point, that it's just like, oh my gosh, I have to do all these things. But remember, this is a comprehensive data-driven process, and it's divided into small, manageable monthly steps. We are going to provide you lots of resources. You'll have templates, you'll have samples, you'll have speaker notes, you'll have scripts. I mean, we're just going to give you everything you need. Know that it is doable. We've had hundreds of schools who have successfully completed RSC. So it is a lot of work when you're first setting it up. It actually makes you have more time down the road because you're going to really focus your energy and let go of things that aren't really connected to your goals. So down the road, this is going to get you more time, but right now, it is going to add some time to your plate. I think it's good work. We talk to schools over and over again who say, yeah, it's work, but it's good work because it's benefiting kids. So just know that as you're rolling up your sleeves, that kids are going to be the beneficiary. And also, please understand that we're right there with you. We worked all through our holiday break to get ready for you for today. We work nights, we work evenings, we work weekends. This is a passion for us as well. And we want to put in that kind of work because we know it benefits kids. I mean, that's why we do what we do. So yes, it seems overwhelming, but remember, one step at a time, you're going to get lots and lots of help. Okay, so let's look at the online system. This is part of the help that we're providing. So what I'm showing you right now is the process page. This is where you'll log in, and when you get to this page, it just tells you what to do. So the first step was to register for today's webinar, then to either participate in the webinar or watch the video. Then you're going to read a one-page document. You're going to watch the webinar if you need to, because you're not participating live. You're going to enter RSC uses, you're going to enter steering team members, and then you're going to move on to the next step. So I tried to design this kind of like a cookie recipe that, you know, you just came up with what do you do first, what do you do second, etc. The tabs over here are just shortcuts. Really the only tabs I ever use are the top three. And the process page right here, that's a big one. Most of the time I'm on process page, and schools are on process page when they're working. Notice in these columns that there are, whoops, let me go back here, that there are, there's a column for tools. This is, we've put in something that we think you're going to need. It may be a video or a document. This is in the column that says enter. That's where you're going to enter the work that you do. After you enter the work that you do, there's a report in some cases that you can spit out. And then when you're ready for us to review your work, you would click submit. That's going to send the work to your support specialist here at our staff to review. Here's the deadline that we need it by, and then after we've reviewed it, we'll put a status in here that says meets criteria or needs revision or whatever. You'll always have a rubric item that you can look at to help you know how we're looking at your work, and if you look at those rubric items ahead of time and make sure you've met them all, then they're really easy for us to find. We just check them off, and then we'll put that down out as meeting criteria. So that's the process page. We'll go in live and look at that in a second. Also on the process page, as you complete tasks, you can check them off so you kind of know where you are in the process. Then there's the manual page. The manual page provides things that you need. I'll go in live and look at this as well. But these are just tips and samples and just all kinds of stuff to help you do the work. We'll go in and look at that live. You have enter edit pages. We'll look at that live as well. Different reports. And then on the submission reviews, I pointed out already, that's where you click to submit your work to us. Then you'll see a status meets criteria, and if you click on that status, it'll bring up a comments screen that shows you that we think you've met all the rubric items, and we'll put a comment in often that says, you know, great start, or, you know, if the status is please revise, then we'll give you some tips on what to do. So you'll have work that's due to us each month, and within 48 hours of your submission, we'll send you a feedback. So you'll get a status and then our comments. So 48 hours is our goal. As soon as you hit that submit button, the clock starts running on our end, and we're racing to get you that feedback within 48 hours. We keep our staff to school ratio low enough that almost always we meet that 48-hour turnaround timeline. Okay, I talked about that. Another thing you can do with the online system is you can publish your school counseling program online. There's just a button you click and it creates a web page for your school counseling program and gives links to the different components of the program. Okay, I'm going to go one more step and then we'll stop for questions again. So additional benefits. When you finish all of this, you will have met all the criteria for Gold Star School Counseling for the schools that want to do that. And then you will have also met all the criteria for the ASCA Ramp Awards. So for schools that are interested in those two awards, you'll be ready to receive them at the end of this process. And then we also think you'll have a school counseling program that's innovative, that's sustainable, that will be in a really good position to get the Lilly implementation funding. So, okay, going to talk about this month's tasks in a minute, but let's see what questions we have. Debbie, I see a couple questions have popped in. Hopefully we've got Debbie. Debbie, are you still having trouble with your audio? Okay, well, let me see if I can pull up the question pane. And okay, what are the 5 tasks? We're going to go over that in a minute. And so that's coming from Vincent Mayo. So we're looking at the 5 webinars, and in each one of those webinars, I'm not sure what you mean by tasks. And in the 5 webinars, where we list the webinars, we give you the topic of those webinars. So it's introduction, and then goals, and then root causes, and then activities, and then getting the 5th one is getting the information to your district. If you're talking about the 5 tasks for this month, I'm going to talk about that in just a second.
I'm sorry, Sue. I got back in. Can you hear me?
Yeah, and I pulled up the pane. So yeah, do you want to take over, and I'll?
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Here. I'm just going to go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that if I close my pane, I won't be able to reopen it. But
right. When we'll be notified of if we receive the planning grant, I think that's where you may be.
Actually, I see you've put some notes in here too. So let's go ahead. Why don't you ask me, Debbie, because you know what you've already responded to in writing.
Okay. So did you respond to the slides, the PowerPoint slides that you have?
No. What's the?
Well, okay. Will the slides be available after the webinar?
Yes. Oh, good question. In the handouts part of your control panel, I've uploaded the presentation, so you have the slides there. They will also be available on the website. So yes, to both ways.
And then that will also answer the 5 tasks that Vincent was asking about, okay, because that's on the PowerPoint. What is the difference between RSC and Gold Star? That's
a really good question. So Gold Star is actually an initiative of the Indiana Department of Education. And I actually happened to be the school counseling consultant at DOE when we developed Gold Star. But Gold Star is an award that DOE presents to schools who have met all of DOE's program standards for school counseling. So that's Gold Star. It's a DOE initiative. Redesigning school counseling is a process that schools can use to design a data-driven school counseling program. It was a process that I developed when I was in the schools, and DOE has invited us to use that process to help schools earn the Gold Star Award that DOE provides. So RSC is an initiative RSC is an initiative of the American Student Achievement Institute. We do RSC in 41 states. But in Indiana, we've made sure that we've incorporated all of the standards that Indiana has for the Gold Star Award. And so at the end of our process, you will have met all of the criteria for DOE's award. Okay. Hopefully that helped.
Okay. Yes. And then here's a really good question. Well, they're all really good questions, but this one, can you use a school social worker if a school does not have a counselor?
Yes, you can. There's 2 places where that's going to, where you're going to have to bring in a counselor. But you can do that using a counselor from another school. So one place is on your steering team. We want to make sure that there's a counselor. One of the requirements for Gold Star is that there's a counselor, there's a licensed counselor who's kind of managing and overseeing the program. So if you're an elementary school that say has social workers or maybe no helping professional, what you can do is have your middle school or high school counselor serve on your steering team. That will enable them to kind of look over the process as you're going through it and be managing the process in that way. And then the other place is down the road one of the requirements for Gold Star, or for RAMP and Gold Star, is that you implement group counseling. And because group counseling is a counseling activity, that needs to be performed by someone who is licensed as a helping professional. If you have a licensed school social worker who can provide group counseling, that's fine. But if not, if there are no helping professionals in your building, licensed helping professionals in your building, then you'd need to bring in a school counselor, a licensed counselor, to provide that service for your students. So, but other than those two areas, you know, the rest, it would be fine. We just want to make sure that if you don't have a counselor, you're not implementing counseling activities. Your program would just be limited to the guidance activities, which are teaching in essence, instead of more therapeutic counseling kind of activities. Okay, next question.
Okay. Tammy asked for a breakdown of the tasks each month, but I think that's probably best found on that VTA process tab.
Yeah, there's the, yes, yeah, we can go back to that, yeah. So yes, it'll come up in a minute.
Okay. When will we be notified of if we receive the planning grant from Lily?
Lily is telling schools that they will be notified by January 20th. However, they also say, or earlier. So sometime between now and January 20th, you should be notified. And again, since it's a non-competitive grant, we are assuming that all schools will receive it.
Lauren is also asking, not all of their schools have received their logins that we would have sent out this morning, so how can they receive those?
Okay, so logins came out this morning for the schools that we know are logged in, are registered for RSC. There's a couple reasons why that may not have happened. It may be that when you registered, that school didn't get registered for some reason. You thought they registered, but they forgot to do it or whatever. The other thing is that they could have entered a bad email address in the email field. So what we'd like you to do is that if you did not get a username and password and you think you should have, call or email Debbie. We'll put her contact information up on the very last slide, and we'll track that down and make sure that you get it.
Also, if they would check their junk or their spam mail, because sometimes it can, yeah, their filter, the school filter may have knocked it into
yeah.
Okay. With regard to the student survey, do students have to complete that in one sitting, or can they start it, pause, and come back to complete?
We're going to talk about surveys in a moment, and there's a separate video on setting up the survey. But to answer your question, it has to be in one sitting. I'll talk a little bit about the survey in a few minutes.
Okay, and then the last question from Angela is, do we need to attend the Gold Star webinars in conjunction to the RSC webinars?
Not sure what you are asking. They're the same thing. So it is RSC/Gold Star. So I don't know, Debbie, are you reading into that something that I'm not hearing? Or maybe
no, she said okay, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
She said okay and thank you, so we're good.
Okay, yeah, same thing. RSC/Gold Star. RSC is the process, Gold Star is the award. RSC is ASA, Gold Star is DOE. So, okay, that sounds good. So
Great.
let's move
Thank
on.
You.
Okay, so now let's talk about this month's tasks. And when we emailed you, we explained that we wanted to start today because we wanted to hit the ground running. There is actually quite a lot to do this month, but remember, one of the first things you're going to do is delegate all these tasks. So don't feel that you have to do everything. Okay, so here are the tasks. And I'll talk a little bit about each of them. So here's the submission that will come to us this month. Here's what we're looking for. So what Debbie or our other staff members who are reviewing what they'll look for. And here's the deadline. So you can see all the deadlines are oops, I have one of those deadlines wrong. These two, the first two should be January 3rd. It's right on the online system. Okay, so in the RSC's Uses tab, I'm going to show you that. Just all the questions have been answered. Steering team roster, 5 members. Primary contact has been identified. Responsibilities have been assigned at least once a school counselor. School counseling council roster, I can't emphasize the importance of this enough. If you are interested in applying for the implementation grant, which we think all but one school is, this is all through the RFP. Lily talked about engaging the community partners and engaging stakeholder groups. So we're going to really beef up this step, and what we're looking for, and we'll check to make sure that you have it, is that we want on your council, there should be school counselors, there should be teachers at different grade levels in an elementary school, teachers at different subject areas in a middle school, high school, school administrator, students from different grade levels, students who are enrolled in different curricula, so a high ability student, a career and tech ed student in a high school, special needs students, parents. This is, in my opinion, the most important member, somebody representing economic development. So your county's Economic Development Council, Chamber of Commerce, Business and Industry, service clubs like Kiwanis, Lions, Rotary, faith-based organizations, mental health organizations. So we need to have all of these groups represented on the council. And if you have ever been involved in RSC in the past and are starting over, we are really going to insist on that this time. We want you to be in a good position to get that implementation funding, and we think that this is going to be key. So we're going to be real sticklers on this. If you are from a school that has multiple schools in the same district, we talked to your district staff this morning about helping to coordinate the recruitment of the council members, so that if there's 8 schools, not all 8 schools are calling the same business to serve on their school's council. So your district folks will be able to help you with that, we hope. We ask them to. So, okay, so then on the surveys, the first, 5 statements just says what we want the data to reflect. You're using our survey, so that's a given. And then at least 30 students in each grade level have surveyed. However, we really want that to be 100% of the kids in your building. In the survey video, it talks about how it's really quite easy to give the survey. You just hand instructions to your teachers, and you'll ask them sometime in the next 4 weeks, when you have an extra class period, please work in this survey. So it's not you implementing the survey, it's all the teachers. And if you were to say, for example, to all of your second period teachers, sometime in the next four weeks, please give the survey during your second period class. That's really, really helpful. Please choose different periods. Don't everybody select second period. It helps if some will select fourth, some second, so that not every school in the state is trying to survey at the same moment. Just slows down everything. So pick different periods. So it's really not that big of a deal. It just needs to be coordinated on your part. If your district is involved in RSC, we also encourage your district folks to put in a good word to your principals that this is a really important survey, and to help you encourage your principals to get on board with giving the survey in the next 4 weeks. Also, in the assurances that you signed, remember that you signed when you applied for RSC, one of the assurances that you gave is that you would do this. If worse comes to worse, though, we have to have at least 30 randomly selected students at each grade level. We want to get grade level data down. Now, the benefit for doing, I just want to say this and then we'll move off survey. The benefit for surveying all students is that if you get data that your community doesn't like, if you've not surveyed all students, the community will say things like, well, the kids probably really don't have that issue going on. It's just that the survey wasn't really random. But if you've surveyed every single student, they cannot say that. So it'll make the study of the survey a lot richer if you can make sure that you've surveyed every student. The other thing is that if you don't survey all of your students, there may be some subgroup data that we're unable to provide. So like maybe if there's only 30 Hispanic students in your district, Well, if you are in your school, if you've surveyed everybody, we'll be able to provide for you Hispanic drill down data. If you've only surveyed 30 per grade level, we're probably not going to capture all 30 Hispanic students, and we won't be able to provide that information to you. So it really is, we really encourage you, although I know it's a huge initiative to survey every student in your building, but I'm kind of begging you, please, to do that if you can, because it'll make this whole process so much richer. And you'll be able to tell Lily when you apply for your implementation grant that you surveyed every kid in the building. I mean, that's huge. Okay, and then counselor time use log. The school has assured us that the counselors have started the time use log. There's a separate little 3 or 4 screen presentation on the time use log. We need to start those as soon as possible, like tomorrow, and we'll be keeping them for 2 months, and then we'll discuss that data at the second council meeting. So, okay, so these are the things that we need to do to get started. Remember, you are delegating tasks, so not all of this is going to fall on one person's shoulders. If you decide to be the council recruitment point person, you're just going to be responsible for this step, and you don't even have to do it all. You can get people to help you do this. You can say to your friends, can you contact somebody from the Kiwanis? Can you, or to other steering team members, can you contact somebody at your church and ask them to be involved? So delegate through all of this. If you are the data point person, you just have the surveys and the time log to do. And again, you don't have to do it all yourself. Get 4 of your friends. If you're in a high school, get 4 of your friends to come in and delegate that, so that one person's going to be responsible for making sure all the 9th graders get surveyed and all the 10th graders goes to another person. So always think about, how can I be building my resources, my helpers, so that I'm not getting stuck doing all the work. So, okay. Then a couple other January tasks. We would like you to contact your district and to ask them if they plan to apply for the implementation grant, and if so, to give you a ballpark estimate of the funding that you're going to have over the next 4 years to implement the things that you're planning right now. If the district tells you that they're not applying for that grant, then the robustness of the program that you're planning is going to be pretty small, because you're not going to have funding to do professional development and evaluation and the development of it and all that. On the other hand, if they tell you, you're going to have $10,000 a year, oh my gosh, think about all the professional development you could do for your teachers and the community and you, and all the time that you could purchase for people to work outside of contract hours for developing curriculum. And I mean, so that's big. We kind of need to know now what your district's thinking about doing. I put the word ballpark in there on purpose just to make sure that, nothing is set in stone on this. We just kind of need a sense. And then also, if in your planning grant your district wrote in that you would be attending conferences, we'd like you to start looking now for those conferences and registering for them. But keep in mind that this is just step 1 of exploration. The majority of the exploration we want to have happen after the root cause analysis step. So at that point, you'll be saying things like, no wonder our kids don't complete a FAFSA. They don't even know what a FAFSA is. And then we can go out and explore what schools are having really big FAFSA completion rates and what are they doing to make that happen. So we'd rather you do your exploration a couple months from now when your thinking is more focused. But there are some conferences that we know people want to go to, so let's go ahead and get registered. Our favorite conference is the Evidence-Based School Counseling Conference, because that's all data-backed counseling initiatives that are presented. So we've presented ourselves at that conference several times, and it's a really good conference. So, okay, so those are the January tasks. Let me stop, ask for questions again, and then we'll move into the online system. I'm probably going to go over time about 5 minutes, so not a lot. So, Debbie, other questions? Okay, let me pull it up. So, let's see if there's any. Okay, there's two other questions that came in. One is, does the school counselor, does it have to be a school counselor who's in charge of the steering team? Absolutely not. It should be the person who is the biggest worker bee and who's a good coordinator. We've had some schools where that's actually a teacher who wants to be a counselor and, you know, wants to kind of jump in and do all of this. That would be fine. It could be an administrator. It just needs to be a person who's good at coordinating and who, you know, has a passion for doing this and is going to enjoy it because they want to support kids. And then the last question that we have right now is, does the steering team meet from January to May, or is it ongoing forever? So for the purpose of your planning phase, it would be January to May. Ideally, it would be forever, because what we want to happen next year is the implementation, and your steering team will monitor the implementation. And then at the end of next year, we'll want to evaluate to see, did your school counseling activities make any difference on the choices that kids were making? So there will be those activities. So the steering team, you know, most of our schools, it stays, you know, it stays together. However, once a year, we look at updating the steering team. There are people that, you know, will need a break, or maybe have moved to other districts, or just aren't interested anymore. Maybe there's, you know, new people that are interested. So, yeah. So I think that answers that question.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I've got one question left. And then the last one is, does each school need an advisory council or just one for the district? No, it is each school needs an advisory council. And that's because the data for each school is different. So we want each advisory council to be looking at their data. Also, the politics in every building is different, and at times we know you're going to come up with resistance, and we want your council to be able to look at that specifically for your building. We've tried doing it the other way, and it just is not a good situation at all. So now that said, when we get to next month, we're going to give you some tips about how your buildings could work together. So for example, when you go into the discussion phase, you could bring all of your councils together to do the presentation and introduce the discussion prompt, and then break into building level councils to actually have the individual discussions. So there will be parts of this that you can do together with all the councils combined. And then, but then when we get to the discussions and look at the data, we want each school's council to look at its own data and come up with its own program. Every school is different, and we don't think there's a one-size-fits-all school counseling program that's going to work in every elementary school in the district or every high school in the district. We think every school needs its own program. That said, there will be places where you overlap and places where we can save time by working together, and we'll point those out to you as we go along. Okay, I think that's it. That's the last question I'm seeing.
Did you get, is the January task list available on the website?
Is the January what?
Task list available on the website?
Yes, it'll be available on the website as well as in this. So, and we'll go to that right now. There's no other questions.
Does each school need a steering team and advisory council?
That's what we just talked about.
Okay, got it.
Got it. Okay, we're good. Okay, so let's go then to the online system, and I'll just show you this real quickly, and then we'll close. So here is what the online system looks like. When you log in, first of all, let me show you how to log in. So we're going to www.asainstitute.org/RSC, and you'll come up with our public page. You'll click on RSC School. That will give you, well, I'm already logged in. That'll give you a login screen where you put your username and password. If you want to show someone the system without giving them your username and password, if you use demo123, that will get people into a demo school. So if there's somebody that you want to show this to, just use demo123 and it'll get you in a demo school. if you want to go into your own school, use your own school's username and password. Okay, so here's what the system looks like. I mentioned that pretty much the only tabs you're going to use are the ones over here on the left, the Uses tab, Process, and Manual in this top section. The rest of these are shortcuts, and to be honest, I never use these tabs, but some people like them, but I just would advise you to use the top three. So I'm going to go to the Process page, and pretty much that's the page you'll always go to. You'll notice up here that there are 4 different curricula. Right now we are a first-year school, but this is a special version of RSC that's designed to correspond with the Lilly timeline. So this tab will be the default tab when you go in, and you can see that this is just it's just like a cookie recipe. You just go in, you do the first step, register for the webinar, check I did that. This tool would actually take you to the registration page. You're going to watch, if you didn't participate live today, you would watch the video. Tomorrow there will be an icon here to our YouTube channel, and this video will be on that. Read this one-page RSC approach. Watch the intro video. These actually I think are mixed backwards. I'll fix that. Watch the intro video, and then the first task that you have is to enter RSC uses. Notice that there's an icon in the Enter column that's telling you that there's work to be done on this step that you're going to submit. So I'm going to click on that, and I want to run through these questions quickly with you. So this is asking you to identify which curriculum you're involved in. You're doing the first year process, so make sure that that's clicked. And then, does your school currently have Ask a Ramp? No. Are you seeking the Ask a Ramp? Yes. And then, when do you plan on submitting this? And that answer would be October of 2017. Is that right? Yeah, October 2017. That's right, because we're on fast mode with your cohort. Okay, next thing, same set of questions, but this time for Gold Star. For Gold Star, you will be submitting in June 2017. Will or did your district apply for the planning grant? Yes. And then did you get it? And then we're going to say, have you been approved yet? Right now you're going to say no. As soon as you have, you're going to change that to yes. And then we're trying to get a handle. It's come to our attention that some of you are working with other technical assistance providers, and we want to make sure that as much as possible we've coordinated with their work. The process, the improvement process, you should be doing with RSC, but if there's other components that these other providers are helping you with, we'll try to coordinate that as much as we can. So we just want to kind of get a handle on that. Will you apply for the implementation grant? Not sure. Yes, no. So yes. And then what were you awarded? You won't know that until several months from now. So you're going to write right now. Not sure. Okay. Okay. So that's the process page. Very important. Hit save. This customizes your website, by the way. So it's really important that you've identified the correct ones. I'm going to go back to the process page. A couple more things. After I've entered the uses, you can go ahead and do this work around January 24th. This submit tab will be live. We're working on that right now. And when it becomes live, we'll send you an email so that you can click that and be able to submit to Debbie or whoever your specialist is that you're finished with these uses and you're ready for her or him to look at that work. Then on Enter Steering Team Members, it's in the Enter column. You're going to click that. This we really would like you to do today, and you're going to add steering team members. You just click that. I've already put some steering team members in. Scroll down, add a new person, answer questions about that new person, and save. Okay, so you're going to enter your people. Then you're going to select of those people who's the primary contact. Just hit one of them and save. And the last thing is on this is to assign responsibilities. So all of your people will come up and all of the duties will come up. So who's going to do data collection? If I do that, here's all the people on my steering team. So I just click the person that's going to do it and then click Save. Okay, so that's how we're entering responsibilities. And then the rubric is here so that you can look at what Debbie or your support specialist is going to look at as they are reviewing your work. So finish up the first task in January, then go on and just start working in the council. Tomorrow there will be a video here to help you think through a couple things on recruiting your council. So look for that in the tools column, watch that, and then start recruiting. January 27th, we want the council to be in place. On collecting data tomorrow, or hopefully today, there will be a video on how to set up your surveys, and then you'll do the survey setup based on what that video, how that video teaches you to do it. And then there will be a second video on how to do time use logs, and then you'll begin doing your time use logs. So again, at the beginning of each of these little segments, there's a video that teaches you how to do it, and then just go ahead and do it. You can see in February we had a question before about what tasks would be coming. We're in the process of setting up the rest of this page right now. You can see what the topics are for each month, and we're in the process of entering the steps for each month as we speak. So okay, so that's that. One last thing, the manual page is also providing you with things that will help you do your work. Someone asked earlier, are these slides available? Here they are. So here's the intro slides. This is not the video, it's just the slides for what we're doing right now. Steering team recruitment, here's slides for that video that's on the process page. If you're interested in professional growth points, we award those. You would start doing that log today. There's instructions at the top of the log. Data collection, here's the slides that go with the videos, and then here's some here's different documents. So here is the time use log, both as an Excel spreadsheet and as a Word doc. So one other word about the time use logs that we want you to start doing right away. So those other videos will help you do that. We are in the process of creating a online version of the time use log that will be ready by the end of the month. So the first half of your data will be on paper using an Excel spreadsheet or a Word doc. The second half of the second month, it'll be web-based, which means that the computer will do all the tallying for you. So that should be ready by the end of the month. So okay, so that's that, and I think that's about it. So my guess is right now everybody's feeling really overwhelmed, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, where do I even start? So let's go back to the PowerPoint, and remember, oops. Here are the January tasks. So these are the things that have to be done. And really, rather than work from the PowerPoint, I would just go to the online system, go to the process page, and just start with number 1. Register for the webinar, check that off, you already have done it. Check off the video, you already did it. Read this document, check it off, and just kind of work through this. After you've delegated tasks, somebody else, whoever's in charge of recruiting the council, can jump down and start on this section. Whoever's responsible for collecting data can jump down and do the third section. So remember, this is about delegating responsibilities. So if you are responsible for collecting the data, your first step is going to be to watch this video. If you're responsible for recruiting the council, your next step is to watch this video when these are posted later today or tomorrow to get you started. So delegate, delegate, delegate. That's the way this work is going to be completed. Remember, Lily talks about this being a comprehensive school counseling program. that is developed through data reviews, through research, and through a lot of local discussions. So this is not something that's like just add on another program. That's not what Lily's talking about. It's also not what RSC is about. It's really about digging in and doing good work. We really believe that to be funded, if you're interested in that funding, that we're kind of looking at philosophically and foundationally changing the way that school counseling is delivered, involving lots of different folks studying data, you know, coordinating different programs, and this is what we're going to help you do all semester. It is going to be manageable. It will be some work, but remember, it's good work because kids are going to be the beneficiary. And down the road, you'll have less work because through this process, we're going to focus on the things that are important. We're going to let go of the things that are not important, and we're going to get lots of help through teacher advisor programs, through community-based guidance. It will end up being less work. Schools tell us that over and over and over again, but to get it set up, it's like changing the headlight on a train as the train's roaring down the tracks. You know, it's kind of difficult to get things changed when you're in the middle of the motion. So, but the new system is going to be wonderful. So, okay, let's take questions, then we'll close. And I realize that I'm over. We probably will not be over in the future. Just this was a lot to set up today. So, Debbie, questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Do we need to be using the 2017 cohort tab or the first year tab on the RSC system?
Yeah, you will use the 2017 tab. It should be the tab that comes up by default, because this is a special version of first year that is meeting the timeline constraints of Lily.
Okay, it says the RSC uses and the steering team members are due today, but it says submitting is not available.
Right.
Not yet available.
So what we'd like you to do is to enter them today. All of our, I'm glad you asked that question. All of our communications go out to the entire steering team. So we want to make sure that your steering team members are in there, because if we need to send you an email tomorrow, we'll send it to the steering team members that you've entered into this system. We used the contact person that you put in your application to contact you this morning. That's the last time we're ever going to use that contact information. From now on, the contact information for us will come out of the online system, and it will be based on what you put in for your steering team. Same thing with the RSC uses. So you will be able to do the work. You just won't be able to submit it to us until later in the month. And again, when that submit button is live, we'll send you an email and let you know. Good question. That was sharp.
Yeah. Should the RSC uses be done at both the district level and each individual school?
RSC uses is done just at each individual school level. So that's not on the district admin system. It's only on the school admin system.
Okay. So we will be able to share the video for counselors' time use log to the other counselors?
Yes, yes, that's a good question. You know, the other thing I love about the way we do professional development and in developing cohorts of schools that we're talking to is we start to look for themes, and that's a really, really good question. So yes, you'll be able to take that video, sit down with your counsel and say, you know, here's what it is, here's the terminology, here's what these words means, here's how you do it. And I will tell you, you probably will get a little bit of resistance because it's a kind of a pain in the rear to do those. But the data that you get out of those will be phenomenal when we get to that point in the process. So you might tell your counselors that there is an online version coming that's going to be a lot easier. The other thing, just a kind of a quick aside, when I started my school counseling program and doing all this in my building at Indian Creek High School, our staff was spending 90% of our time doing things that had nothing to do with school counseling. When I left there 7 years later, we were only spending 10% of our time doing non-program things. And the biggest thing that made the difference for us is that we did those time task logs, and we wrote them a day ahead of time, just like a doctor schedules his time a day ahead of time. Then we knew what we were doing. If the principal wanted us to go be a substitute, we would have to say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't. I already have passes out to see kids in that time. So these time task logs, they're a pain. but they're really, really worthwhile. So, okay. And
I believe the last,
go ahead.
The last question, is it possible to break up the surveys into shorter increments? We are concerned about our students' engagement for 45 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's not. And I'm glad you asked that. Another thing that we'll point this out in the survey video, but the survey this year is new. We rewrote the survey over the last month or so to make sure that it fully aligned with the brand new Indiana school counseling competencies for students. In one of the Gold Star requirements is that schools have to address all of those competencies, and so we need to make sure that all those competencies are in the survey so that we can assess if you're, the degree to which you're meeting them. So the surveys are quite long. I know that that's problematic. We just kind of, with RAMP, RAMP has a different approach, ASCA does. RAMP does not require schools to address all of the competencies. They only require schools to address the competencies that are pertinent to the school. DOE is different than that. In DOE Indiana, you do have to address all of their competencies. So we'll talk more with DOE. It's not going to help you this time, but we'll talk more with DOE about maybe making this more like ASCA, like where schools get to choose the competencies they want to focus on rather than doing them all. So that will help in the future. The other thing I can help with is that the survey that's the longest is the middle school survey, because that includes so many competencies that we need 8th graders especially to have. So every grade level survey has different number of questions on it, and it just depends on how many competencies and standards are involved with each grade. So yeah, so I wish I had a better answer for you. I know that's a problem. I tell you what, as schools, as you all work through that, if anybody gets a brainstorm on how to do it so that it's not as time consuming, or please let me know and we'll share that with all of our schools. I don't have a good fix on that right now. So, but it's definitely an issue that we're aware of, and we've been racking our brains to figure out, how to help you with that. So help us think. If you think of something, let us know. Other questions? Okay. Okay. And again, I apologize for going over. One thing that might be helpful in the future too, I think in the future we'll be able to end on time, but just in case, you might want to not schedule something right at the closing time that would make you have to run off in case I go over 2 or 3 minutes. So I want to make sure that everybody's able to hear all the questions. So okay, that's it, and I thank everybody for your participation, and please call us. Oh, the last slide I wanted to put up was Debbie's contact information. Let me get that up here. So here's how to get a hold of Debbie. It's 812-349-4142. Her email address is Howell, Howell, at asainstitute.org. So I'll leave this slide up for a few minutes so you can write that down. We know that tomorrow we're going to have a ton of calls for people that, are saying, that I'm so overwhelmed I don't even know where to begin. Call Debbie and she'll say, okay, begin here. We have what we call the 5-minute rule that Debbie has changed to the 5-second rule, and that's if you are ever confused for 5 seconds, please call us. Don't waste your time trying to figure something out. Call us. That's what Debbie's here for. We're in the process of hiring a couple of additional support specialists. By our next meeting, we'll be able to tell you who your support specialist is in terms of doing your reviews. Right now, Debbie is taking all phone calls, so please call Debbie tomorrow if you need to. Ask her where to begin, or to ask her about something that confuses you. That's what she's here for. And Debbie, do you want to add anything about that? I'm sure I've forgotten things.
No, I think it's all good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, call Debbie, call Debbie, call Debbie. So, okay, that's it. We'll close now. And again, I'm sorry we went over. That's not something we like to do. It will close now, and we'll talk to you at our next webinar. Thanks, everyone.